Good evening, everyone. This is Angie Steward from Miami Inner Light, here live in Kardec Radio. Very good. We are very excited to be here again. That's our second show, and it's always a blessing to be able to talk about Spiritism, especially in English, to all our friends around the world that do not speak Portuguese, but English is our universal language. And to continue our studies, we will be studying tonight this beautiful book, Thought and Life, chapter 11. We are going to be talking about the cradle. And then, the next half an hour, we are going to be studying the Gospel according to Spiritism, introduction, and the part we're going to study today is the historical facts. And if you still don't have the books, you can go to the link in the video, and there you can have access to the pages of the book we're going to be studying tonight. So you can follow, besides me reading, you can follow it too. So let's go. As usually, we start with a simple prayer just to connect us to the enlightened spirits and help us to be able to focus and also to receive better the message. And I always suggest, if you want to have a bottle of water, we know in Spiritism that the enlightened spirits give the good vibrations to the water, and this water becomes our medication through the week. So it's always good. It's always something positive. So let's just relax now. Try to connect with the enlightened spirits, and I will do a short prayer. Almighty God, beloved Master Jesus, help us right now at this moment that we'll be studying these beautiful books. Help and guide all of us to receive these beautiful inspirations and guidance so we can fulfill our spirit with love and light. And we can spread this love and light to our friends, family, and everyone we will be meeting during this week. Thank you so much. So be it. Very good. So let's go. Let's go. Let's start the study, Thought and Life. And chapter 11 is the chapter we are going to be reading tonight. I hope you have the book. If you don't have, you can listen to what I'm going to be reading. And please, you can post your comments, you can post questions, and then we try to answer. And I see some friends arriving. Very good. Welcome. We have Saul, Carla, Francini. Very good, my friends. Very good. Let's go. Number 11, the cradle. I hope you can listen. No problem. Is everything good? So the cradle. With the expiation of special missions concerning spirits who come to bring reflections of the higher plans to earth, every birth that takes place now portrays the past of a spirit. The road we initiate in a new existence is the continuation of the road we travel in previous existences. Scientific investigation on Earth has repeatedly failed to establish a biological linkage of beings. Geneticists look to the nuclei of chromosomes and cytoplasmic vehicles, as well as environmental factors and genealogies as explanations to the problems of origin. Their investigations have naturally had some outstanding results, such as those touching on morphology and the wonders of adaptation. Yet, the scalpel of a human investigation still cannot go beyond the physical. It dwells on the study of formation and stature, of the pigmentation of blood types, all related to bodily lineage. That is because the labyrinths of a psychic hereditary are, for the present, almost entirely inaccessible to the scrutiny of the earthly intelligence. The fact is that germinating cells, like fertile seeds, reproduce our consciousness matrices in the subtle process of the formation of a new body. The predominant mental reflexes of our individuality will be impressed on the photo plate with the uterine chamber of all the principles of germinating, which provide the foundations for a new physical body. This seals our destiny for the tasks we were summoned to fulfill in the world within a certain period of time. We do not mean to give credence to absolute determinism, for no one can abolish free will. Through the free will, we institute the causes of suffering or restitution for our destinies. This takes place within a relative determinism, which we advance to higher forms of emotion and thought in the conquest of our supreme freedom. Through the death of the body, we return to the greater life, carrying with us the sum total of our deeds that are not always what we would like to have done. In many cases, the images we carry from our journey in the flesh are simply phantoms of guilty, the offspring of our own faults, which will need to be adjusted and paid for. Meanwhile, they present to our senses a torturing hell where complaints and afflictions tumble in our minds. Yeah, we love to complain. However, heavenly justice through its mercy allows a new beginning. Thus, we will come into contact again with our creditors and debtors for the settlement of debts we had contracted, which are perfectly annotated in the archives of the divine laws. We are usually born on earth in accordance with our debts or our needs. This end we assimilate to genetic elements of those who blend with us and our ways. The problems of heredity, therefore, generally stem from the mental reflections that we carry. Now the last part. What really happens is that sometimes people with generous hearts and the will to endure sacrifice bring into their lives some suffering souls, thus temporarily carrying in their arms real challenges far below the level of progress already reached. Such exceptions, however, are the result of noble renunciations that through divine charity attract out of the nether regions all the links of affections far removed in time. As a rule, however, our cradle in the world is the reflection of our needs. It is the duty of everyone reincarnation to honor it with a work worthy of a self-restoration improvement, or elevation. We must also bear the certainty that we were brought or attracted to it, in obedience to the problems we face in our regeneration or the stewardship we need to be able to readjust our future destiny. Wow! Beautiful and deep. Beautiful and very deep. The cradle. So, let's see. Oh, Rudy! Hello, Rudy! Nice to see you here. Ceisa, welcome. Francine. Oh, I'm so new to this. I'm trying to enjoy it, guys. Saul, Francine, Teresa. Hey, Teresa. John, Marcia. Very good. Very nice to see all you here. Please post your comments so I can read and we can all share it. And if you have questions and I know how to answer, let's do it. But when we talk about the cradle, you know, the cradle is the place we are born. Like how we are born. We are born through a family, through a mother, through a father. There are so many different types of families. But we need to have a mom. We need to have a womb. And this womb is a blessing. It's always a blessing. I know that a lot of people say, oh, but my mother is not good, my father was not good, this and that. Yes, there are, unfortunately, there are some parents that are not the ideal. But as we just read here, we will come to a life that we need. We are not coming to a life we want. We come to a life that we need, because this life is the life we need to be able to overcome our problems, overcome the mistakes we did in our past. Because in Spiritism, we know, we don't believe, we know, life is eternal. Our spirits are eternal. Our bodies, our physical bodies, no, they in 100 years, they will start going down, and this body will die, will perish. And it's also a blessing, because imagine if you were going to be living in a body that's not as strong as you want it to be. It's really good to be able to have another chance, a brand new body all over again. This is a blessing. So when we are talking about this cradle, this the maternity and the birth of the baby, it's always a blessing, because this mother, even if the mother is not the ideal mother we wanted, she was able to endure the pregnancy and she still had you. And this is wonderful. Doesn't matter if she couldn't keep you and she gave you into adoption, but she gave you life, and the life is a blessing. When we listen to spirits, they always say in the mediumistic tables and meetings, they always say the line to reincarnate is huge. So we think like, oh, everybody's coming back quickly. It's not as quickly as we wanted, because we understand that when we die, when we discarnate and we arrive in the spiritual realm, we desperately want to come back, because when we die, we see like a little movie in front of us. This is what all the spirits describe. In this very short movie of few seconds, we see everything, all the main things we did, all the main things that were good, and also the main things that were not that good. And we feel ashamed. We feel ashamed for the things that we didn't do well, or the mistakes we did, or the things that we remember we had to do. We kind of sign a contract and I will go back and I will do that. And sometimes we fail. We were not able to do it. We were not able to complete the best way possible. And we want to come back immediately. But thank God, we have guardian angels who are guiding us and helping us to come back to the cradle. Because they say, no, 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 take it easy. Angela, you can't go back right now. You just saw you made so many mistakes. You did some good things also. Thank God. We all do it. But you need to stay here a little bit longer so you can study. Whoops. You can study a little bit longer and you can perfect yourself. You can discover, if you go through the same situation, what you can do to better yourself. How can you act to not fail this mistake again? So this is also very important for us, because a reincarnation is a blessing. Like Saul is saying, life is a blessing. Yes, life is a blessing. Hello, Katy. Very nice to see you here. Let me read what you guys are saying here. Oh, Daniela, welcome. Yes, you're here. John. So what John Raphael said. It is said our first job is to find out what we have to learn from our parents. Yes, very good. It is. It is. Our parents are really the ones who have the task of teaching us. And we will be learning with our parents. Even if our parents made mistakes. Oh my God, this hair is driving me crazy. Even if our parents made mistakes. Because if they made mistakes and we did not agree with that and we think this was not good, we will learn with it and we will say, I will not do this to my children. Or if I see this happening somewhere else, I will try to help them to not repeat the same mistakes. And if our parents did things that were good, this is awesome. So let's try to repeat it, or let's try to improve it, and let's try to apply it. Of course that when we are kids, many times we complain. We complain about everything. Everything our parents say, our parents do, always wrong. Especially if you go to the teenager years. Then it's even more challenging, because we understand when the physical body is reaching to the teenage years. In science, we already know that all the hormones of the body are changing, everything. It's getting difficult to that human being. But also in Spiritism, we know that the teenager years is the age where the spirit is fully connecting to that body, because the body is fully formed and now the spirit is really connecting in that body. And when this connection is fully established, what happens? The spirit goes in full speed, or better saying, in the total fullness in that incarnation, bringing everything, bringing all the baggage, all the history, everything that this spirit did in the past life will come, even with the problems the spirit had in that life, and brings to this life to learn, to improve. That's why the teenager years are very challenging. That's the age that the parents need to be very close, need to have a lot of patience, because it's a very challenging age for the teenager, because she doesn't really know how to act, how to behave. Is trying to fit in a body, in a society, in school, and also with the requirements from the parents, from the society. So it's challenging, and we need to help. We need to help our children, because we understand, especially parents and uncles and aunts, and also best friends. We reincarnate as a society. We don't reincarnate one individual. We come in a family that we need. So that family is there for something. And then you're going to say, oh, but my goodness, I have an aunt that I can't stand. Yes, but maybe this aunt, why you can't stand this aunt? Maybe in a past life, you and this aunt, you had challenges. You had the situations that were really difficult and we don't know what happened. So God is blessing enough to bring you together again, not in such a tight and close situation. You're not more husband and wife. you are not more, I don't know, mother and son, but now it's an aunt and a son. So you have to, you as a son or as a nephew, for example, you have to try to be more loving, comprehensive, use like some feelings that maybe are dormant inside of you to make this relationship a little bit better. And of course, this is not one way, it's both ways. But when we know we need that to better ourselves, we don't stay still expecting the other person to do it. We know that I need to do it. I will do my best. I will do my best. Even if this person is not going to understand me now, I will try to be loving, understanding, forgiving, because we understand the general thing. We understand that to improve, we have to be like this. We have to better ourselves. And when we better ourselves, we are able to better others. Because the others, they look at us and like, wow, she's so much nicer now. Is it true? Why? And then that's why sometimes the people even discover Spiritism, because they come to talk to me, for example, and say, oh, you are nicer now. And then they're like, why? What have you been doing? And then I say, well, I have to say that since I start studying Spiritism and learning that I have to better myself to have a better life, I start changing. And then people say, oh, what is that? Let me know. So this is also another way to spread Spiritism, when we better ourselves. So let me see what Rudy said. My mother will be 91. Wow, this month. Amazing. Strong, always happy. Lives in Guatemala. Wow. And every night we talk about the blessings of being incarnated. Beautiful, Rudy. Very beautiful. That's really nice. Your mother, 91 years old. My grandmother will be 92. But she doesn't, unfortunately, she doesn't have her mind in fullness anymore. She's very forgetful. And this is normal, you know. It's rare to have somebody like your mother that she has all her mind there present. This is very nice. So I have a teenager here, and it's not easy, Angela. They change a lot. Yes, I know. I have a teenager too. It's not easy. But so be strong, because they did you see that? They are a blessing. They are a blessing. Even if sometimes it's so difficult, we lose our patience. It's very painful. But we know we are doing our best. We have to control ourselves also, because, you know, if we are able to talk about beautiful things to other people, we are able to talk about Spiritism to so many people, we have to start it in our home. Our home is the first place. And doesn't matter if you live alone and you have no kids, you have neighbors. They live in our building, in our society. And let's try to avoid what most of people do, you know. Nowadays it's so easy. You go in an elevator, you don't even say good morning. No, I go in the elevator, hey, good morning, hey, oh, you're the neighbor of the 8th floor, yay, I moved here, I live on the 32nd. You start conversation. And some people, they might not want it, but other people will be happy. Other people will be really happy that, oh, that's a nice person that moved here to the building. And that's a way for us to start this loving message. Antônio Freitas, abraço do Movimento Espírita no Brasil. Hey, Antônio! Very, very good. Welcome here. Welcome to Spiritism in United States. This is awesome. John, the frontal lobe of teenage brain is not fully developed. Yes. This is the reasoning center. Therefore, give them a little space as they do things impulsively. Yes. I know, John. That's why we have to calm down, and if possible, to do a little meditation so we can really relax and listen to some soothing music. And not just the mother, but the teenager too, the teenager too, because they also need to calm down and let's relax so we can all function better with less impulsivity. Because when we have this impulsivity, sometimes we say things that hurt other people, and after you said, it cannot come back. Even the mother or the kids, the family, and anybody. This works to anyone. So going back to the chapter. So the chapter here is really talking about this blessing of the cradle, this blessing of the reincarnation. And the spirit of Emmanuel, who wrote this book, he describes many beautiful things. And he describes how important, how science have researched so deeply to understand what happens when we come back. They try to find these connections, these biological connections, but they cannot explain because, the physical body is something that will die, but the spirit is the linkage. The spirit is the one that is going to be reborning, is going to be coming back to this cradle, and the spirit comes back with the history from the past, with all the mistakes we did, with all the good things we did. We come back to improve, to better ourselves. And and then you talk about children, for example, children that are born with terrible diseases. And it's so painful for us to see. But when we understand Spiritism, we understand that God is good. God is our mother and father. And he's not going to be doing anything bad. It's not that kind of God that people sometimes imagine is so good to this person and so bad to that person. No. Because of a reincarnation, we understand that we are coming back as we are coming back to a school. Here is a little bit different, but in Brazil, you have 8 subjects, for example. And if you do bad in one subject, you have to repeat the whole year. So you have 8 subjects: science, chemistry, English, and you did bad in math. So you did bad in math, you did not reach the grade you need as a passing, and then you have to do everything again. Even the subjects you had A+, you have to do again. Maybe here in the States it's different. And then for the person, for the spirit, this is a punishment. Yes, because you feel horrible. You feel terrible that all your friends were able to advance 1 year and you stayed stationary there because math did that to you. And you feel bad about that. But this is more or less like a reincarnation. You came and you did a mistake. So in this life, you committed that mistake, and then you have another life where you will be able to improve that mistake. Exactly in the school, you didn't do good in math. So the next year, you have to pay attention to math. because you know math is your issue. So the same thing in the life. So you come to the life, and let's suppose you were a gossiper. You were a gossiper, and because you like to talk about the life of others, you end up doing lots of bad things. People think, oh, gossip is nothing. It's nothing. Yes, it might not be as bad as a murder, but a gossip is really bad. You can create lies that did not exist. And you can damage reputation of people. You can do lots of bad things. And another thing, you lose your time. Instead of you doing something good, improving yourself, you are actually doing bad for yourself and for others. So you have another life to learn or not to do it. And you are going to have, in this life, you will, the good spirits, they will put you in situations that will help you. So you might have a mother and father that are very strict, and they will notice you doing this since a little child, and they will immediately stop cutting you. No, don't do that. It's bad. We don't know what will be the situation, but we know that the incarnation is always a blessing to help us. Always a blessing to help us. There is a man that I always like to talk about him. His name is Nick Vujicic. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He is Australian, and he was born without his arms and without his legs. He only had the torso. And this man is a blessing. He is so happy. He is actually a motivational speaker in Australia. And he got so famous that he moved to the United States, and nowadays he lives in California. And you can Google his name, Nick Vujicic, and he's Australian. And in one of his lectures, he explained that when he was 8 years old, he wanted to kill himself. And he went to the bathtub as his parents brought him there. And he had just a little bit of water. But he knew he could kill himself very quickly. And he said he would start laying down to drink water from the bathtub to die. And when he was in the position of almost like being totally submerged, he heard a voice telling him, you are going to make your parents to suffer. And he said in that moment, that was so strong and so powerful that he moved up and he put his head up, because he said he could care less about himself. He was suffering a lot in school, being bullied, and he describes like all the pain he was going through, and he didn't want that pain to his parents. In his mind, if he died, it would be better for his parents, because was very difficult for them to take care of him. He required a special chair, special wheelchair, everything. He didn't have arms or legs. And from that moment on, that voice made him to understand his parents were so loving and they were doing everything to help him. And didn't matter the way he was. He had other siblings who were normal. But that even the siblings were always loving and trying to help him, guide him, but not protect him, showing him how life can be difficult, but teaching him, you are a son of God, and we will help you to improve. We will help you in everything you need. So from that moment on, he said, I'm not gonna lower my head and get angry with bullies anymore. I'm gonna face them. And then he says that he went to school the next day, and he went to one of the biggest bullies, and he told him, hey, why do you like to make fun of me? And then the guy was very surprised, because usually, you know, bullies, they are used to making fun, everybody around is laughing, and then they walk away. And he was like really surprised. He was talking to him directly at the age of 8, 9. And then the other child told him, well, it's just a joke. I'm not doing anything bad. It's just a joke. And then he told him, he said, Nick said, well, it's a joke for you, but for me, it's very painful. And I hope you understand that it's hurting me. And I hope you don't do it anymore. And that bully, that child, had like how can I say, like, woke up and realized it was not nice to make fun of somebody that had disabilities and was struggling to be in the same school. So from that moment on, that other child stopped. So he understood that he could do this to every single one in a nice way, not like fighting, because when we send negative energy, we receive negative energy. So you have to break this negative chain and you have to give love. So that's what he said. He said in a loving way, don't do it. You are making me suffer. I really would appreciate if you could stop. And from that moment on, that kid stopped. And he started a revolution. He started changing all his behavior. He started seeing beauty in everything. And he really changed to this unbelievable man of nowadays, married to a normal woman that we can say with arms and legs, for example, and with two children. And this is so beautiful, because he even said that lots of people came to him and used to tell him, oh, I'm so sorry, you are never going to get married. And he also talks about it. He said, well, if I ever get married, I'm not going to even have a hand to hold the hand of my wife. But then later on, he realized that he doesn't have a hand, but he can hold her spirit in a different way. If he is positive, if he's loving, if he can face any kind of adversities with a positive word. So I encourage all of you, if you can, to watch a lecture of Nick, and you just Google Nick from Australia speaker, and you will see this beautiful man inside and out. And he loves to tell everybody, oh, I'm the Guinness Book of Hugs, because I receive like the most amount of hugs in the whole planet. So he is this blessing. So Nick is one of the people that we can say that he was born into a diversity with these huge difficulties, but he was able to really fulfill his reincarnation, bringing light, hope to so many others. With all this beautiful light he has inside, he was able to spread to all the other people. Oh, so let me see. So Rudy is saying pronunciation, Viljicic. Woo! My God, his name is so difficult. Yeah, thank you, Rudy. So let me see who else is here. Oh, Jailton. Hey, Jailton. Long time I don't see you, my friend. Julija also. Hi, Julija. Welcome. So Jailton said, Adilson, Sérgio, Sônia, Tiago, Andrade are saying hello. Oh my God, that's awesome. Miss you guys. We just finished our radiation. Yes. Oh, yes. I love you, Inner Enlightenment. You will be forever in my heart. Very good. Heather Tito, I love him. Oh, very good. Let me just copy and paste his name here so you guys can Google him, and you know, you can. This is his name. So Google Nick and be happy with him, because he's an explosion of happiness. And so this is basically what we should talk tonight about the cradle. The cradle is always a blessing. We know that our beautiful earth is our cradle also. The earth right now is our planet of trials and expiations, but we are starting the process, the phase that the Earth is really becoming a regeneration planet, a planet that there's so many more blessings are going to come, so many beautiful things will happen, so many acts of charity, and much less of hatred, of fight, of negativity. So our planet is evolving, our big cradle is evolving, and we have to evolve with the planet Earth. So let's work together and continue evolving and continue making this world better. But as I said, to be able to do that, it needs to start within us. We need to better ourselves a little bit, day by day, day by day. And then it will become like a habit, a good habit, a habit to be positive and to be always happy. Even if we can't be happy every single day, we can try to be a little bit happier and bringing happiness to our friends. So let's move on to another beautiful book. This amazing book here. The Gospel According to Spiritism. So today we have been studying this book for quite some time, but we are still in the introduction. The introduction of the book is very, very important. So that's why we are dissecting it little by little, piece by piece. And the part we are going to study today is the historical facts. It's very important because in the time that Jesus was born on earth, there are a lot of names that they were important in the Hebrew society of that time, but they are not used nowadays anymore. And most of the time, we don't even know what it's talking about. We hear that name all the time, but we don't know what it talks about. So it's important for us to read and understand. Even if sometimes there are like lots of details and we can't keep all the details, but it's important for us to have an understanding of how it was, so we can have a better concept of the historical facts. So let's go. If you went to Miami Inner Light page, as I described above, you can follow the book, and I am on page number 30. Historical facts. I will read it. In order to understand certain passages of the Gospel, it is necessary to know the significance of several words that are frequently used in them, and which characterize the state of the customs and the Jewish society of the time. Since they do not have the same meaning for us, these words have frequently been misinterpreted, and for that reason have led to a sort of uncertainty. The understanding of their significance, on the other hand, explains the true meaning of certain maxims that at first sight might appear strange. So that's why it's so good to study these parts, because we can have an understanding of what was this in that time. Because nowadays, we don't talk about this. We don't have this in our society, especially. So the first item are the Samaritans. So Samaritans. After the split up of the 10 tribes, Samaria became the capital of the dissident kingdom of Israel. Destroyed and rebuilt several times, it was under Roman rule. The administrative seat of Samaria, one of the 4 divisions of the Palestine. Herod, called the Great, adorned Samaria with opulent monuments, and to please Augustus gave it the name Augusta, in Greek, Sebaste. The Samaritans were also always at war with the kings of Judah. A profound aversion dating back to the separation was perturbed between the two peoples, who shunned all mutual relations. In order to make the schism deeper and to avoid having to go to Jerusalem to celebrate religious festivals, the Samaritans built their own temple and adopted certain reforms. They accepted only the Pentateuch, which contained the law of Moses, but rejected all the other books that were added afterward. The sacred writings were written in Hebrew characters of the highest antiquity. In the eyes of Orthodox Jews, they were heretics and were consequently despised, anathematized, and persecuted. The antagonism between the two peoples thus had as its sole principle the divergence of religious opinions. Although their beliefs had the same origin, the Samaritans were the Protestants of their time. Even today, Samaritans may be found in few regions of the Middle East, particularly in Naples and Jaffa. They observe the law of Moses more strictly than other Jews and only marry amongst themselves. So, for our understanding, the Samaritans are the very, very tough Jews, the Orthodox, the ones that follow just the law of Moses. They don't follow any of the other books that were written after Moses. So they are very, very strict, and they constructed this temple just for themselves. So they didn't need to go to Jerusalem in that pilgrimage that it's very famous, that all the Jewish people, they do it every year. So they didn't do that. So as we can understand, they are like very orthodox in their beliefs. And they mention here that the Samaritans were the Protestants of their time. So this is good for us because many times they talk about the Samaritans, they talk about so many different names, and it's important for us to have an understanding of what means that word. So what the word, that type of belief, what was the type of belief and understanding. Sylvia, hello friends, glad to be here. Hello Sylvia Otero, nice to meet you, welcome. So guys, if you have any comments, any questions, please post there and we will try to answer. But now we are going to go to page 32 and we are going to read about the Nazarites. The Nazarites, name given to Jews who took vows under ancient law, whether for life or whether for a time, to keep themselves perfectly pure. They were committed to chastity, abstinence from alcohol, and the preservation of their hair. Samson, Samuel, and John the Baptist were Nazarites. The Jews gave this name to the Christians, alluding to Jesus of Nazareth. But we have to understand that Jesus of Nazareth was actually the city that Jesus was born. But Jesus also, he followed very closely to the Nazarite precepts. So it's like we don't know if he was a Nazarite, but he followed it very closely. So this was also the name of a heretical sect of the first centuries of the Christian era, and which, in the same manner as the Ebionites, from whom it adopted certain principles, mixed Mosaic practice with Christian dogmas. The sect disappeared in the 4th century. So this is interesting for us, you know. If we think about these Nazarites, we immediately imagine, oh my God, they were amazing, because in that time they already decided to be chaste, you know, to follow chastity, to not use alcohol, and even to keep their hair long. And Samson was very famous. We all know that the Samson and Delilah from this history in the Bible, when Delilah cut Samson's hair and he loses his strength, he loses all his power. I remember when I was a child watching the movies about it and crying so bad. So this is very interesting for us to understand. And the next one is the publicans. The publicans, very famous. We also always heard about the publicans. So let's go. The publicans. In ancient Rome, this was the name given to those who were least holders of public taxes. You see, taxes, money, that's the problem, where the problem is coming from. They were in charge of collecting taxes and income of every sort, whether in Rome itself or in other parts of the empire. They were analogous to the fermiers généraux et tractants in old system in France, which still exists in certain regions. The risks they ran made most others close their eyes to the wealth they frequently acquired, and which for many was the product of levies and scandalous profits. The name publican was later extended to all who were in charge of administering public monies, and also to their subaltern agents. Today, the term has taken on a pejorative meaning to denote financiers and agents with few business scruples. It is sometimes stated greedy as a publican or rich as a publican, referring to a fortune of a dishonest origin. So under Roman rule, taxation was what the Jews found it hardest to accept, and it caused them the greatest aggravation, giving rise to several revolts and turning into religious issue, since it was regarded as contrary to the law. A powerful party was even formed, headed by a certain Judas of a Gaulonite, having as its principle the refusal of paying taxes. Thus, the Jews despised the taxes and consequently all those who were in charge of collecting them. Hence, their aversion toward the publicans of all categories, amongst whom could be found many decent individuals. So, we have to understand that just because the person was a publican, it doesn't mean that it was an immoral person. It doesn't mean that this person was doing something illegal. It's almost, we can compare like nowadays politicians. We have this thing in our minds because of so much corruption everywhere. We have a tendency to think that every politician is corrupt, and it's not true. It's not true. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are, but it's not every single one. Like in every single thing in life, we cannot generalize anything. You know, we can't. We can't even generalize, oh, every person from Rio knows how to samba. No, it's not true. In everything in life, we cannot generalize because there are many things different, many layers. And even he, Kardec, is telling us that was not every single publican that was a corrupt person. So let me see what I stopped. I'm sorry. Hence, their aversion toward the publicans of all categories, amongst whom could be found many decent individuals, but who, due to their occupation, were despised along with all associated with them. Distinguished Jews believed they jeopardized themselves by having any close relations with them. And we know in history that the Romans, they were very smart, And they understood the issue of taxes was going to be so difficult that they decided to take Jewish people, Jewish persons, to be able to collect taxes for them. So they didn't put Roman people doing this task. They put Jewish people doing this task. So they were very smart, these Romans. And so as we can understand, in the time, collecting taxes was a task that was dangerous, as they mention, as Kardec mentions here. It was a dangerous job because people were trying to kill them. You imagine you are going there to get money from them to give to the Romans, and most of them believed this was against the law, so they were trying to kill them. But of course, some of those also took the money for the Romans, but took their salary and sometimes took a little bit more for themselves. So that's what it's mentioned here, and that's the main understanding why the Jewish people had so much hatred to people who had this job as a publican. And now we have the other layer of publicans. It's called tax collectors. So tax collectors, these were lower class tax collectors who were mainly in charge of collecting duties at the city gates. Their functions corresponded approximately to those of customs officials or toll collectors. They endured the same loafing extended to publicans in general. This is why in the Gospel we frequently find the name publican connected to sinners. This label did not imply only dissolute or disreputable individuals. It was a term of scorn, synonymous with bad company, individuals unworthy of mixing with decent people. Wow. So it's good for us to understand. We already, just today, we read about Samaritans. Then we read about Nazarites, publicans, and now tax collectors. So as they say here, tax collectors were the people who stayed in the entrance of the city. By what I can understand, to come in the city, you had to pay taxes. So they were nowadays as the custom officials. Very interesting. If we didn't read the introduction, we wouldn't fully know about it. That's why it is so important. It is so important for us to really study the gospel. When we do the God at home, for example, you know, we pray and then we open the book, usually in the middle of the book. So we never go to the beginning of the book. We never fully understand the details. But this is the blessing of studying as a group, because we can do things we wouldn't normally be doing. So this is wonderful. Studying is always a blessing. And when we study in a group, it helps us, because sometimes we think, oh, this is boring. I don't want to read that. Let me go to the good stuff. And then you skip that. You jump that. And no, let's not jump anything. Let's not skip anything. We have to read everything. And the next one is the Pharisees. Ooh, the Pharisees are very famous. The Pharisees are those people that Jesus one time said, "You hypocrites." Do you remember? We are going to study this next week. Next time we are here, we are going to study the Pharisees, the scribes, and the full meaning of the synagogue. So if you have the book, study, and then we can comment. So let me see who else is here. Raquel, hello Raquel, awesome to see you. Sylvia, thank you, darling, for the Pacific News. Very good. Andrea, hey Andrea, welcome. Very good, you're here. Francine, my dear, thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's 10 p.m. I have to be punctual. The spirits, they are always punctual. So the spiritual guides of the study, they are very punctual too. So we are finalizing. I just want to say thank you to all of you. It was a blessing to have you here. I hope you can come back again in 2 weeks. And as I mentioned before, if you have your water, mentalize it so the water can be blessed by the enlightened spirits. And I just would like to invite you to a short prayer where you can relax and connect to the beautiful teachings, and we can have a blessed night. Almighty God, beloved Master Jesus, thank you so much for being with us tonight during this study. Please help all of us to be able to go to our beds, to have a wonderful night's sleep, to be able to reflect about everything we study, and most of all, put in practice on our daily basis. As the beautiful teachings the Spirit of Emmanuel brought us in our first book, Thought and Life. Thank you so much. So be it. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night and hope to see you in 2 weeks. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.